Let me explain in response to all of you in terms of my philosophy where the federal, the state, and the county governments fall in. Because if you understand my philosophy, while I cannot answer every single question any of you may have, if you understand my thought process, I think you can better understand where I might go on the decisions sometime in the future. My basic principles I believe in is I believe in limited government. And I believe the government that governs best is the government that is closest to the people. I believe that decision-making process should be done at the community level. That's why, as a member of the Honolulu City Council, as well as a state legislator, I have always been an advocate for municipal government. And that's where I believe most of the decision-making, not just in Hawaii, but as our nation as a whole, should focus on. That doesn't mean the federal government or the state governments have no role. Certainly, of course, on major issues that affect all of the states, such as foreign policy, national security, or monetary affairs, the federal government does have a role. But whenever, wherever possible, my preference is for limited government and for local government.
Let me also share some overriding principles, because there are principles among us in terms of the role of government that are coming clear through this campaign. First of all, I don't think that government is our enemy. There is a prevailing view among some in our country that the greatest enemy is our government. And I don't disagree that our government has become unresponsive and out of touch with us. But it is us. Government is us acting collectively. It is our government. And therefore, it's up to us to change it or make it go where it wants to go. So that's principle number one. We need to fix it. Number two, I agree with Charles. I think in general, the government is closest to where you live and work, should handle the issues that directly impact where you live and work. So county government should run land use zoning in the county. State government should run issues common to the state. The federal government does have a balanced role. Not a huge federal government, but not no federal government. Neither of those are going to work. So there are clear roles to the federal government that should transcend all states.
We'll start with you. And it's getting past 8 o'clock, and I'm not sure what our candidates and other guests have planned. I'm sure that people have families. I did submit to the candidates a closing question, but I'm going to forego that closing question because there's one question here that I think is a good way to end the evening. My apologies to those of you whose questions I were not able to get to. I will post them online at moililimatters.com. I will submit them to the campaigns. When those responses, or if those responses come in, we'll put those responses online for you to read. This will be the last question. What is your vision for the United States?
In 1 minute or less, right? You know, very quickly, ladies and gentlemen, let me just share with all of you my background, my belief in the United States of America, and why I believe this is such a wonderful country, why I am so excited to have the privilege to come before all of you this evening. My father was born in Shanghai, China. My mother was born in Bangkok, Thailand. Both of them had the opportunity to come to the United States out of very difficult conflict situations. My father coming out of the Japanese occupation of Shanghai in the Communist Revolution. My mother coming out of the conflict in Southeast Asia. What I find so incredible about being an American and about our nation and what I want to preserve and what I think is the genius of our nation is I realize and recognize that if I were to have grown up in the home countries of either my mother or father, the thought that I could aspire to be the maker of laws of either one of my parents' home countries would not exist. But it is because I had the great fortune to have been able to have born and raised here in the United States that I am able to sit in front of all of you and humbly ask each and every one of you for your support to be your representative in the United States Congress. That's what I preserve, and that's what I see the future of our America. Aloha.
When I stood on the floor of the U.S. House and was sworn in to my terms in Congress, took the oath, that oath only asked me to make one promise, and that's to defend and uphold the Constitution of the United States. And I think that's the greatest document that was ever written, that embodied the greatest ideals I've ever found. Now, like most of you, in my case, being born and raised in Hilo and growing up there and saying the Pledge of Allegiance and reciting American history, I don't think I fully appreciated the greatness of this country at the time. And maybe I didn't even fully appreciate it going into my 20s, but I know I appreciate it today. And I know that having served in Congress and having watched democracy and all of its imperfections in action, watching people involved in their government as you are here today, that is one awesome, awesome accomplishment. I think we have to cherish that. I think my vision for the United States really going forward is that we fully and unconditionally fulfill that vision of a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. We should have that, and we can have that.
My vision of the United States goes back to where I come from and what I've experienced. I've learned one thing, one major thing, when we talk about kids in the Waianae Coast, or kids from areas that are suffering and are not able to have all the benefits of others. And that is that the essence of their success is always tied to two concepts. One is pride, pride for where they're from, and the second is a hope in a future. So my vision of the United States is that the United States assumes its role, its proper role in the world, and that everyone comes to recognize the United States as like the great statesman, in the old days we'd say, that it really is, and that it is that leader, that unequivocal leader of the world that sets the standards, sets the policies, sets the issues of civil rights for the rest of us, the rest of that world. And then it comes back to where we all must be. That is that we need to have a country that we are proud to be a part of and we have hope in. And I believe that is the United States, and that is the United States that we will see in the future.
I just want to thank all of our candidates for participating with us. Good luck to you all. Unfortunately, only one of you can win, but I'm sure we'll see you again in the summer months in preparation for the primary and general election. I'd like to thank everyone else here for coming. As a reminder, we do have monthly get-togethers here on the second Tuesday of the month, so we will be having another one next month, and more details on that is available at moililimatters.com. Thank you.